Okay, let's unpack this money. It's so much more than just numbers in an account, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's tangled up with everything, our hopes, our fears.
How we see ourselves, yeah. And we all know that feeling, right? Striving for a bit more financial security, maybe success.
But have you ever stopped to think that maybe it's not about how much we know about finance?
You mean like it's more about how we behave with money?
Exactly. What's really fascinating, I think, is that so much of our financial life isn't, purely rational.
Huh? It's emotions, past experiences.
Those deep human tendencies that kind of play out in weird ways. It's
Yeah.
where finance meets, well, us, human psychology.
Right. And that's what we're really getting into today. We're looking closely at the psychology of money, and we're drawing a lot from Morgan Housel's work here.
Yeah, his core idea, the one that keeps popping up, is that behavior often trumps knowledge when it comes to money.
So, for you listening, our goal here is to kind of cut through the jargon.
Right. We want to pull out the key psychological bits that really affect your financial decisions.
Give you some maybe surprising insights and practical takeaways you can actually use without getting totally bogged down.
Yeah, we're going to explore why we do the things we do with money and hopefully find some valuable lessons.
Okay, so let's start with this idea. Housel calls it our financial DNA.
Yeah. It's basically how our personal history, the economic times we grew up in, shaped how we see money.
Like what our parents went through, the general mood.
Yeah,
It leaves a real mark, doesn't it?
it really does. I mean, think about someone who came of age in the 1970s.
Okay.
They probably saw the stock market go up like tenfold. That experience, it could easily make you more optimistic about investing.
Makes sense. But then contrast that with someone from the 1950s.
Right. The market was pretty flat back then for a whole decade.
So you might end up much more cautious, maybe even negative about stocks.
Exactly. And it's not just stocks. Think about inflation.
Oh, yeah.
If you were young in the 1960s, you probably remember prices going up a lot.
So that sticks with you. You'd be more aware of it, maybe more worried.
Definitely. Whereas someone growing up in the 90s, inflation was pretty low, pretty stable.
Kind of background noise, so less worry, maybe less awareness.
It's fascinating how these different times create such different outlooks.
But hang on, isn't there a risk of just stereotyping generations here? Like,
Yeah.
surely individuals react differently.
Oh, absolutely. That's a great point.
Mm.
Individual experiences matter hugely. Someone might have had a personal disaster in the booming 70s and be super cautious.
Right.
But these broad experiences do create a kind of baseline, a common starting point for how people might view things. It's about understanding tendency.
Okay, tendencies,
Yeah.
both in ourselves and others.
Yeah, and the key thing here is that everyone's financial choices, even
Yeah.
the ones that look totally crazy from the outside,
Mm-hmm.
they make perfect sense to them based on their own history, their own mental map of how the world works.
Right, based on their experiences, the information they've absorbed.
It's like Housel says, and I love this quote, people do some crazy things with money, but no one is crazy.
Yeah, that really hit home for me too. It's not about judging right or wrong.
No, it's about trying to get why we do what we do with money and why others do too,
No.
understanding the roots.
Okay, so moving on. Let's talk about compounding. Seems simple, but the power is just huge.
It's incredible, and the classic example, of course, is Warren Buffett.
The Oracle himself.
Yeah,
We all know he's amazing. But get this. This is the part that blew my mind.
go on.
Apparently, something like $81.5 billion of his, $84.5 billion net worth, he made that after his 65th birthday.
Isn't that staggering? It just shows it's not just his skill, though obviously that's huge.
Right. It's the time.
It's the sheer length of time he's been doing it. He started investing seriously when he was about, 10?
10 years old. That early start just let compounding work its magic for decades and decades.
Maybe we should quickly explain compounding, just the basics.
Good idea. So imagine you invest, say, $1,000, and it earns 8% a year.
All right.
After year one, you've got $1,080. Simple enough. But year two,
You earn 8% not just on the original 1,000, but on the whole $1,080.
exactly. So you're at $86.40, bringing you to $1,166.40. You're earning interest on your interest.
It snowballs. It accelerates over time.
Okay, now back to Buffett. Let's play what if. He had about $1 million by age 30.
Great.
But what if he'd waited until 30 to start seriously? Maybe spent more early on?
Yeah.
Say he starts with $25,000 at 30.
Okay, and still gets his amazing 22% average return.
Yeah, let's say until he's 60. What would his net worth be?
Much less, I assume.
Try around $11.9 million.
Wow. Still a lot of money, but compared to $84.5 billion?
It's 99.9% less.
Yeah.
That just shows the insane power of starting early.
And look at Jim Simons. Brilliant hedge fund guy, right? His average returns are way higher than Buffett's, like 66% a year since '88.
Whoa, that's huge.
But his net worth is around $21 billion. Still massive, but like 75% less than Buffett. Because he really got going much later, around age 50. Less time for that compounding snowball.
So he missed decades of potential growth.
Housel even did a wild calculation. If Simons had compounded at his rate for as long as Buffett, his net worth could theoretically be like 63.9 quintillion.
Okay, that number doesn't even make sense, quintillion.
Exactly. It just highlights the point. The takeaway for you listening is so clear. Start early if you can,
Yeah.
and be patient.
Time is the secret sauce.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Why are we humans seemingly wired for bad news financially?
Oh, you mean pessimism.
Yeah.
I feel that. I always click the scary headlines first. It's like a reflex.
It's a really common thing. You know, optimism, financially speaking, is just believing things will probably work out okay long term, despite the bumps.
Right, but pessimism just seems louder, more compelling.
It often does. Think about history overall. Living standards are way up, right? But we often focus on the immediate bad news.
Yeah, like a big stock market crash. Say it drops 40% in 6 months. That headline screams at you.
Feels urgent, like you need to do something right now.
But compare that to, say, the market going up 140% over 6 years.
Much less dramatic. It kind of sneaks up on you, doesn't grab the headlines the same way.
It's like progress in medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Slow, steady improvements save millions of lives over decades.
But a single sudden tragedy, like a plane crash or something,
Yeah.
that dominates the news.
Immediate crisis versus slow progress.
Yeah.
Bad stuff happens fast, demands attention.
And good stuff, especially financially, often takes time. It's gradual.
So our brains are kind of wired to notice the sudden threats more?
Pretty much. That market drop feels like a threat. Slow growth doesn't trigger the same alarm bells.
So the practical takeaway here is,
When you see that negative news, take a breath. Remember, the long-term trend is usually upward. Try not to let short-term fear mess up your long-term plan.
easier said than done sometimes, but a good reminder. Okay, what about these forgotten elements, luck and risk?
Ah, yes. This is where things get really interesting and maybe a bit humbling. Let's talk Bill Gates.
Microsoft founder, yeah.
Back in 1968, there were millions of high school kids globally. Only about 300 went to Lakeside High in Seattle.
Okay.
And Lakeside was basically the only high school in the world back then with computer access. A pretty advanced one, too.
Whoa. That's like winning the lottery odds, isn't it? 1 in a million, maybe?
Something like that. Just incredible luck for Gates and Paul Allen to be there then.
And Gates himself said it right. No Lakeside, no Microsoft.
Exactly. It gave them this unbelievable head start.
But there's a flip side to this luck story, isn't there?
There is a really tragic one. There was a third kid in that group, Ken Evans. Just as smart, just as into computers.
Could have been a co-founder?
Very possibly. But he died in a mountaineering accident before graduation.
Oh, wow. That's awful.
And the odds of something like that happening? Also incredibly small. Roughly 1 in a million, again.
So, extreme good luck on one side, extreme bad luck risk on the other, for people in the same tiny group.
It's a really stark illustration. Housel uses this great analogy. Think of your effort, your skill, your decisions. That's you sailing a boat.
Okay, makes sense.
But the wind and the waves, luck and risk, those have a huge impact on where you end up and how fast you get there. And you don't control the wind and waves.
Right, so it's not all about just trying harder or being smarter.
Not at all. Recognizing luck and risk helps you stay humble when you succeed and maybe give some perspective when things go wrong. It's not always a direct reflection of you.
That's a powerful thought, acknowledging those invisible forces.
Hmm.
So how does your strategy account for the unexpected, for luck and risk? Something to think about.
Definitely.
Okay, so we chase wealth often thinking it buys happiness. But is it that simple? What's the real connection?
Well, Housel has a great definition of financial happiness. He says it's the ability to do what you want, when you want, with who you want, for as long as you want.
Ah, so it's about control. Control over your time, really.
Exactly. And research backs this up, you know? That feeling of autonomy, controlling your life, that's a much stronger predictor of well-being than just income or house size or job title.
That really resonates.
Yeah.
We often trade away our time and freedom for money, assuming the money will buy it back later.
But maybe the freedom itself, the control over your time, is the real prize.
Yeah.
Housel uses this leaky bucket analogy. Chasing more money without valuing your time. It's like pouring water into a leaky bucket.
It just drains away, no matter how much you pour in.
Right. You can have tons of wealth, but if you don't control your days, can't actually enjoy it. What's the point?
So prioritize time and autonomy. That's the highest dividend money pays.
That's the argument. What are the non-financial things that matter just as much or more to you than just piling up cash? How do you build a life around those?
Good questions. Okay, let's tackle tail events. Sounds technical.
Kinda, but the idea is simple. Think of really rare events that have a massive impact. Outliers.
Like winning the lottery or a company hitting the jackpot with some invention.
Exactly, a long tail event.
Yeah.
Housel uses the example of Heinz Berggruen, the art dealer, fled the Nazis, became super successful.
Right, he built this amazing collection, Picassos, with Tisses.
But here's the thing. His success wasn't about every piece being a winner. No. Successful art investors often buy lots of stuff, hold it a long time, and wait for just a few pieces to become incredibly valuable. The outliers.
So most pieces might not do much, but one Picasso pays for everything else and then some.
Precisely. He could have been wrong 99% of the time, but if that 1% were masterpieces, he's still a huge success. It's those tail events driving the results.
Okay, so it's like venture capital. Most startups fail.
But the few huge successes, the Googles or Facebooks, make the whole portfolio work. They cover all the losses and generate massive returns.
Gotcha. And this isn't just art or startups.
No way. Look at Amazon. Some years, a huge chunk of the S&P 500's entire return came from just Amazon.
One company.
And inside Amazon, think Amazon Prime, Amazon Web Services. Those were tail events. Huge successes that dwarfed failures like, remember the Fire Phone?
Oh yeah, the Fire Phone. Bezos even joked about working on bigger failures after that, didn't he?
He did. It shows that mindset you need to accept lots of tries, lots of potential failures to find those game-changing wins.
Right. We only see the final success, the hit movie, or the big product.
Not the years of struggle, the failed attempts. Like a comedian's Netflix special, you see the polished hour, not the years of bombing in clubs to find those jokes.
It's the few killer jokes that make it.
Same with investing. Even Buffett, he's made like 500 stock picks, but most of his wealth comes from maybe 10 of them.
10 out of 500.
Yep. Tail events again. So the lesson is, accept that failure happens, it's part of it. Focus on finding those potential outliers.
Okay, that leads nicely into this difference between being rich and being wealthy. They sound similar, but they're not.
Not really, no. Being rich is often visible. It's about current income, maybe. The fancy car, the big house, the expensive watch. Stuff you can see.
Okay, outward signs.
Wealth, though. That's different. It's the money you haven't spent. It's the assets you own, the stuff you don't see.
So that person in the Lamborghini.
Might look rich, sure. But they could be drowning in debt to afford it, not actually wealthy.
It's deceptive. Wealth is hidden.
Exactly. Building wealth takes restraint, self-control. It's about all the things you could buy but choose not to.
Because you're saving or investing instead.
Right. We see images of rich people spending like crazy, but true wealth is often invisible, much harder to spot.
So the core message is simple.
Pretty simple, yeah, though maybe not easy. Spend less than you earn. Save and invest the difference. That's how you build wealth.
Not by just looking rich.
Definitely not.
All right, so we know how to build it.
Yeah.
But what's the price of investing? It's not just the money we put in, is it?
No, absolutely not. Think about climbing a mountain. You know, going in, there will be challenges. Bad weather, tough terrain, maybe risk of falling. You accept that.
It's part of the deal to get to the top.
Right. It's the price of admission for the view. But with the stock market, lots of people seem to think they can get the summit, the returns, without any hardship.
Without the scary drops or the uncertainty.
Exactly. Housel uses a car analogy, too. You can buy a new car, more potential performance, higher price, like higher potential return.
Or a used car, cheaper. Maybe less performance, safer, lower returns.
Or you could try to steal a car, get the reward with none of the cost or risk.
And stealing in the market memes.
Trying to get the returns without accepting the volatility, trying to perfectly time it, jump out before dips, jump in before rises, which is practically impossible.
Right, so if you aim for, say, an 11% average return like the Dow historically.
You'll probably get there over time. But along the way, there will be big swings, up and down.
And those swings feel bad. They make people panic and try to dodge them.
But that volatility, that's not a flaw, that is the price.
It's the cost of admission you were talking about.
Exactly. The real price isn't just money, it's the emotional toll. handling the fear, the uncertainty, the dips. You have to see volatility not as a fine to be avoided.
But as the fee you pay for the chance of long-term growth.
If you see it as a fine, you'll try to avoid it, and you'll probably miss out on the long-term gains.
That's a really crucial mindset shift.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, last big idea. Knowing when enough is enough.
Ah, yes. This is huge. It relates to something called the hedonic treadmill, or hedonic adaptation.
The what?
The hedonic treadmill. It's basically this idea that when you get more money or achieve something, you feel good for a bit, but then you just adapt.
And the goalposts move. You need even more to feel that same satisfaction again.
Exactly. You're constantly chasing the next thing. It never feels like enough.
And the book gives some pretty stark examples, right? Like Bernie Madoff or Gupta.
Yeah, cautionary tales. People who had incredible wealth but still risked everything, broke laws just for more.
Because they never defined what enough actually was for them.
Right. Without that internal marker, that sense of, okay, this is sufficient, the chase can become endless and destructive.
You end up sacrificing things that actually matter more. Relationships, ethics, peace of mind.
It's like climbing a ladder with no top. You just keep going, never finding contentment. Defining enough is personal, and it's ongoing.
Wow. Okay, so wrapping this up, we've covered a lot of ground on the psychology behind money.
We really have, from how our personal history shapes us, that financial DNA.
To the incredible power of compounding and the patience it takes.
Our bias towards pessimism and the hidden roles of luck and risk.
And how true happiness might be more about controlling your time than just having loads of cash.
Then there were tail events, those rare outliers driving results, and the difference between being rich and truly wealthy.
Don't forget the real price of investing that emotional fee of volatility.
And finally, the importance of figuring out what enough means for you, avoiding that hedonic treadmill.
So for you listening, really understanding these psychological drivers,
Yeah.
it's powerful stuff.
Yeah, it gives you a framework not just for the what of finance, but the why behind our decisions.
It can help you make more informed, more emotionally intelligent choices with your own money, no matter where you're starting from.
Absolutely.
So maybe a final thought to leave you with, now that we've talked through some of this hidden psychology, what's maybe one belief or one behavior in your own financial life that you might want to look at again?
And perhaps, what's one small change you could think about making, starting today, based on that reflection?
Something to chew on. It's about taking these ideas and seeing how they fit or don't fit in your own world.